Hello there, my name is Alvin Corneal, and I am about to speak to the Manchester City group of people, the supporters. I'm one of the supporters, and of course the management of Manchester City, and of course the players. I'm elated over the fact that this team is an excellent team, and during the course of the World Cup, it had me studying about play after play, those that are of Manchester City, in order to sort of take a close look. And I'm pretty certain in my own mind that a number of people are doing the same thing for this great club. Well, on taking a look at the club in the first place, I've always been of the interest as to their preparation, and I'm always satisfied when Coach Guardiola does a phenomenal job. Of course, this is a little bit confused simply because of the fact some of these players have played with different clubs and may not have produced the quality of play that they had. But let's forget this and let us look generally, because I looked through the World Cup so far, and I certainly did look through Manchester City. I take the goalkeepers first, for instance. Edison, we know, is just a wonderful keeper and probably the best in the world today. He's got two substitutes, both are rather competent. My fear sometimes may be when they're moving the ball from the penalty area and short passing, that must be a careful exercise, if only because of the fact that if you lose it there, you can pay the penalty in the best way that you can. I have no problems with the goalkeeping staff of Manchester City. Here goes my problems. They aren't really problems, but they're situations. Let's take a look first at the defense line. What do you have? You have Kyle Walker, and in truth and fact, nobody could find difficulty to understand why he must be kept in the Manchester City team. The guy is a wonderful right wing back. He's very clever, he's very speedy, he's athletic. He commutes very well with his fellow players. And if he goes up the line and the pass doesn't come to him in the overlap, he's going to be back down in a flash. If the players are the side of him, like Ruben and Axe, for instance, and they're out of place, he's sticking there. And he's got sort of leadership quality that I like very much. So there's no question about it. As far as I'm concerned, Kyle Walker is certainly going to be one of the players for the rest of 2 or 3 years. Let's take a look over his shoulder and take a look at Ruben Diaz. Now, this young man is amazing. I looked at him wherever he played. His mind is always on the game. He's intelligent, not only when he's got the ball, when he does not have the ball. He moves that team around as though it's a well-oiled machine. And he gets the ball moving from place to place, starting from him and building up through the midfield and eventually into the final 3 players in the front looking to score goals. The problem here is the central defender is an important position. Okay, so Ruben is a good one. Are we looking for others? We certainly are. I like what I saw recently in Axe. I thought he's a wonderful player, and he can be a very strong player in the middle of the field. The only thing I have about it is that he's not a very tall man, and he likes to put the ball down. I suspect that he would prefer to be in a left wing back position in order to really exercise his skill as best as possible. But I'm not bothered about that, simply because he's competent if you need him as a central defender. But there's a guy called Akanji is his name. Am I impressed with this young man? It is amazing. I saw him play for his country. I saw him play 1 or 2 games for Manchester City. And he has figured that the best thing to do is to follow the instructions of Ruben Diaz. There must be a supporting defender. There must be a defending defender. So who's going to go in front? Where's the communication skill? They seem to both understand it very, very well. And I'm pleased with that, simply because of the fact that John Stones was doing it for a while, and I think he's a good player. But I think that position is a difficult one for him, if only because of the fact that is just a little bit slow with him moving the ball away, and especially in the first third of the field, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that. So let's put it aside for the moment and go on the other side of the field. Cancelo, left wing back, boy, every single aim he plays is a wonderful one. He played it for his country. They did marvelously well with him. He's consistent as well. So we'd have to look into him, although as you look during the season, you would have to find substitutes in different places. In the same way that I think Laporte in the central defender's position is useful, although at times you look at it in the context of Ruben is right-footed and Laporte is left-footed. Some attackers come running through the middle to see if they can communicate, to see who's coming and who's not coming. And that's a tactical point that they will surely look at in the meantime. On the other side of the field, as I said before, it was Cancelo. Wonderful going up the line. He builds up clearly, plays it ball into the midfield, come up to the midfield area to support them. And if he gets the opportunity for doing an overlap, he is going to do it. And he's going to come back rather quickly in the same position like Kyle Walker. So you've got a defense there. In my opinion, there's a guy called Gomez who is also in the left wing back position. And I think a lot of him, although I saw him before the World Cup and I saw him just recently, and he looks very talented. And I assume that with all the experts that we have with Manchester City, he will become a very competent player. So I wouldn't rule him out at any time, at any cost. As you look down on the far side of it, or on the other side of it, is Will Lewis, another one of the youngsters who have done reasonably well. I saw him play 2 games and I was absolutely enthused over his competence. And I'm looking forward, as he goes on, that his game is going to build on, because he's got behind his back Walker and the other guy's got Cancelo behind his back. So let's look at the back of the Manchester City, and that is a competent back 4 division. Let's sit in the center field now. You look at Kevin De Bruyne, my heavens, how much do you want again out of him? He is just a marvelous player, and I'll talk to you about him in a few minutes. Rodrigo is in the middle of that, together with Bernardo Silva. That's probably the best midfield in the Premier League. There's no doubt about it. Bernardo Silva looked marvelous when he played for his club. My bother in that World Cup was what went wrong with Kevin De Bruyne. Yes, his team did not show up in the age group that he wanted, or he'd said he wanted, or somebody said he wanted. But he didn't think that the capability of the players were what he was expecting. Now, I am looking through the cameras and I'm saying he must be bothered about this. He must be a little bit disturbed about it, because I didn't see the Kevin De Bruyne in the way that I had seen him for Manchester City. It bothered me. Unfortunately, they were beaten out and I was concerned. I was concerned for this reason. With no disrespect to him, I would not have dropped my shoulders and not play, because the team in front of him was not doing the way he wanted them to do. It's a kind of discussion, sometimes it happens because he gives 150%. And he would like to know that the people around him at least competent enough to measure with opponents. He probably didn't think so. What he may have thought is, if he had put everything in it for himself, they may have done it well. I'm not blaming him. Sometimes you see it fiercely under pressure and you could think that way. Discussion with Coach Guardiola will definitely turn that sort of idea in his mind. I'm talking now about Kevin, and see if they can sort it out. There's nothing he could do about Bernardo Silva. He is just a fabulous player. He's just creative, he's hardworking, and he helps everybody on. He's here, there, and everywhere. He's got some versatility that is unbelievable. You've got a little man in the middle called Rodrigo. Now, good user of the ball. I will admit that when the defense is going into defense, he's not really coming as contributory as you would want, simply because of the fact that he's hoping that the defense wins the ball quite easily and start it again, when he should have been part of the winning process. But he is a useful player. He's picking up the experience. He's got very good ball control in center field. And if he can do a little bit more in giving coverage or attacking carefully, he'll be fine. He'd be able to do it very well. But I would have no objection if Manchester City says, I'm keeping Rodrigo. So long as you're keeping next to him, you have Kevin De Bruyne, and the other one, you're keeping my favorite, Bernardo Silva. Let's look down the forward line. This is an amazing, amazing thing. You look at some of the forwards in the Manchester City team, and it helps you to worry that there's the possibility of scoring goals in every single game. Let's take a look at them then. Haaland. Haaland is a striker. He came on a few months ago, and he has identified a particular skill which is so important, particularly when you're playing with his size and his agility. He doesn't matter where the ball is in the center field. He's looking around and circling, and hardly will he ever go in there to get a ball to get it built up. He wants it to be built up when it's coming to him. But when he gets into the penalty area, he's lethal. He is moving there, and he's moving into very positive steps. So long as he gets the touch of the ball, the first touch is in the net. That's the type of striker that you need. You don't need 5 Bernardo Silvas or Gundogan. You don't need those in there. You need a Foden who can do it in there and out at the same time. You need that type of player. And there are others that you can see. I'm looking now at a youngster called Palmer. Left-footed player going for the ball in midfield, building up, but sometimes he holds on just a little bit too much. But he has the ability to move into the attacking area with a great degree of success. He's quite a good player doing that. And he would have to need, when you go in there, the first touch is the goal. You don't want to dribble 2 and 3. They'll prepare for you then. And we've had players doing that. On the far side, we had Mahrez. Wonderful, wonderful player. But sometimes he tended to go deep into the final third of the field and may have been stuck on the right-hand side. So his extremely good play was to come in onto the left foot. It didn't do as well, simply because they were leaving him in the corner and adding an extra defender, and he was bottled in. If he had gone back into the field a little bit wider, he would have been able to go both ways, and all would have been happy. He would have been happy, and the players who are on the next side of him will certainly be searching for it. But he still worked the way Mahrez, and in truth and fact, Foden is the other one. My heavens, is this guy a wonderful youngster? At that age, I'll look for him in the future. He's not afraid of anything. He does not hold on unnecessarily, and he can challenge when he does. If he's going to challenge you for speed, you've got to watch it. And when he goes in very methodically. So as soon as the ball comes across his path, he's going to make use of it. It's not a luxury that you can avoid. He must be one of the people that you can go into and do it very, very well. What do you have again? Grealish. Now, I want the coach in particular to have a chat with him. I saw him in the season in the club that he played before, and he had an air of superiority simply because he was very good. And the club he was playing for, he was showing up even more. And because of this, he was tending to hold the ball far too much. He likes running up the left side. But as soon as he came to Manchester City, people were closing him down in there. Yes, he's skillful sometimes, but he's not going to be successful all the time because they're going to keep him in there. He's not going to be effective. If he will get into the way by playing inside and going into the penalty area without the ball and not staying outside on the left side, they'll have to find to do something else. And I think that he can do it. And he will have to watch his temper. It pays nobody. He can have anxiety. He can have his hunch to go on and get it done. But at the same time, don't be annoyed with Coach Guardiola. He's looking at, I'm sure. And if he gets the opportunity to come off that line, play inside, do a bit with midfielders, because he passes the ball reasonably well. But so long as he picks it up and wants to run 30 meters, dribbling it through, that's going to hurt the process which Man City takes place. So I have a problem with him, but he is a really talented player, and you just have to look at it and see. What do we have again? Alvarez, Julian Alvarez. Would you believe? This guy is phenomenal. He's unassuming, but he goes into positions that you hardly expect. And when he does, he's composed. He's never flaring up. He's composed. Look at it, goals that he's scoring. I admire him, and I look forward to his future, simply because of the fact that he's a young man, and he's playing among some of the best midfielders in the world and some of the best defenders in the world. So we have to look at that as well. Now, a little thing about Gundogan. Gundogan did not have a good German team. It didn't do well. Was it affecting him? It should not have. It's similar to De Bruyne. He's got to work his way there. The German team was not a better team, not as good a team as they've been before. And he should have been able to contribute more. But outside of that, it could have been the other side. I was looking on, and all I can see is that he's not getting enough passing opportunities for the skill that he's got, and he may have become disappointed. But I would still hold on to him when he's in Man City's game. He's in the penalty area when it's on. He's outside the box. He's there too, and he's a good winner of the ball. So I will keep him. In terms of those games, there are others. I would have wished that we had Raheem Sterling. I would have wished we had Jesus Gabriel. We don't. So we have to do with what we have here. Our players are excellent. We have a wonderful start to go into. And I have no doubt in my mind that, talking to Coach Guardiola, this man is a wonderful man. I have watched at coaches for the past 25, 30 years, particularly in the FIFA's chair, where I have to do it during World Cups and World Youth Cups. And he's got the temperament of a saint. He can get things right without getting vexed. That is an important feature, and I commend him for it. As far as the off the field arrangement in terms of who sells what, I'm not concerned with that, simply because I'm not at the point in time with their training programs and the life off the field. But I'm satisfied with the players that I have just discussed with you. I love the manner in which they recently, 24 hours ago, I saw them playing against Southampton. Do you want a better performance than that? With some youngsters that are coming in and understanding on the button. It is an amazing club. Manchester City, I am in charge of an academy of 50 years old. And I have worked with FIFA for 30 years old. And I give Manchester City the credit for competence on the field, discipline on the field, a wonderful coach, and I am sure that the supporters who are supporting him must be giving him great service and great ideas so that he continue to go on and on. To the management of this team, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to observe the players, and I feel honored to do it. And I look very anxiously as the next season comes around. Goodbye. Incidentally, would you all please have a Merry Christmas and a wonderful Happy New Year with your families, yourselves, and all the eats and drinks you're going to do. Do it well, and then let's start again next January.